Hello, Alex. Welcome to the World Vegan Travel Podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
I am so pleased to have you here today because we have not talked about this destination at all in the 120 or so episodes that we have done on this podcast. And it's a country that I don't know very much about and a topic I don't know very much either. And that is Sri Lanka, that little island nation just off the Indian coast. So before we talk about Sri Lanka and the retreats and the workshops that you offer, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So my name is Alex and I studied IT. I do have an IT company. But 14 years ago, I've been traveling the world and came across meditation and yoga and different breathing techniques, which changed my life. And then I was traveling the world with my own company. And one day I traveled to Sri Lanka to surf. And then someone offered me his hotel. And since then, actually, I live in Sri Lanka. I teach in Sri Lanka. I have a retreat center in Sri Lanka and I live now half the year in Zurich. I run retreats in Europe and the other half I'm in Sri Lanka with my own retreat center in winter where I teach holistic breathwork retreats.
How did it come to pass that you were offered a hotel? Was it to buy or to rent, or did they gift it to you?
Yeah, that's an interesting story because I never wanted to be a meditation teacher or a yogi or a breathwork teacher. It's the universe or God, however you want to call it, just guided me because we booked a hotel in Sri Lanka. And even my girlfriend back then, my business partner, Martina, I told her, let's cancel Sri Lanka because I worked in India as an IT manager. And I thought, oh, let's go to Bali. I don't want to go to Sri Lanka. Let's cancel our flights. Let's go somewhere else. And she convinced me to go to Sri Lanka. And then we booked a hotel. We arrived there and then they told us, look, we're fully booked. You can't have a room. And this is the first time it happened in my whole 10 years or even more of travels that someone told me the room you booked is not available. It was like 11 in the night, but he said, oh, but the guy next door, maybe he has a room. And then the guy next door is the hotel which I run now, the retreats. So we went there and nearly started a fight with him because I was like, look, I need Wi-Fi because I have my own IT company and need to work. And he said, no, first you have to pay the room. And then you get a Wi-Fi. But I said, no, wait, first the Wi-Fi, then I pay the room. So we had an argument for such a while. And then after a while, he said, okay, you can check the Wi-Fi. I checked the Wi-Fi. We booked another hotel 2 days later. So actually we would leave the hotel after 2 days. And then the next day we got an email. Sorry, it's fully booked. You can't stay in the next hotel. I was like, huh? And this is the only 2 times in my whole life this happened to me. And then we asked the owner, can we stay longer? He said, yes, sure, it's empty. Because it was like half finished, half construction. It was like how it is sometimes in the Eastern world. People build, people start renting, they earn money, they renovate again. So it was more like a half construction, 4 rooms been ready, but beautiful rooms on the beach, like close to the beach, nearly on the beach. And then after the second cancellation, he came across and said, hey, don't wonder, people walking around who want to buy this place. And I was just joking, you know, so, oh, how much do you want? And then he said such a ridiculous amount of money and said, okay, that's too much. I'm not paying so much for like a half constructed building. They even don't have the money. The next day he just came across and was like, why do you don't want to rent my building? I said, because I have a dream life. Why should I? I was like, I have my company and traveling the world. We have a good life. Why should I rent a building? And then he just kept asking. He just said, yeah, why not? Why not? He's been just like annoying us. Yeah, but why do you don't want to live in Sri Lanka? Why do you don't want to have my place? Why you don't want to have it? After a while, I was just joking back to him. It's like, look, if we would take it, we have to renovate because it's half finished. And then he was like, yeah, but what would you then renovate? I was like, yeah, look, we have to get windows, doors. Need to get a kitchen. We need to get a restaurant. We need to get this. And I was just joking around with him for an hour or 2. And then after 2 days, he came with a list and said, hey, Alex, yes, that's the price. I said, which price? Yeah, for the renovation, everything you told me. So he went to a construction company and then he got all the prices, what it would cost us to renovate, everything with us joking. And then the renovation price was really cheap. And then Martina and me been like, that's really cheap to renovate a whole hotel in Sri Lanka. But then we said, okay, we don't want to do this as a couple because I don't know if you know how much work it is to run a hotel and a retreat center, a yoga studio and a restaurant at the same time. it's a lot of work. We said, okay, this will break our relationship. We did have flights to Bali, and then I met a friend there for a coffee, and she said, "Oh, Alex, I want to go back to Sri Lanka. I'm looking for a place to teach yoga." And then I was joking again. I said, "Look, this guy offered us a place with a beautiful terrace, ocean view, and that's the amount to renovate." And she was, I'm in. I was like, "What do you mean you're in?" "Yeah, if you two guys are doing this, I'm in." So we had a team. I went back to Martina and I said, "Look, Amy would join us." She said, "What do you mean join us?" She checked out the building and then she said, "Okay, I like it." And then she went to the lawyer. She got her stuff. We were flying back to Germany. We got our stuff. We quit the flat. We were sending money to the owner, trusting that this guy, which we met for 5 days, will actually do what we told him. We sent him all the money for the construction and then believed that half a year later we will come, and he actually renovated for half a year a whole hotel. And he did. We arrived and he did everything we agreed on, without a contract, without anything.
That's an incredible story. What an incredible story of trust on both parts. And wow, that's so interesting. I'm guessing you're renting the hotel now, or did you buy it?
I'm renting it. No,
You're renting it now. Obviously, there must be more to Sri Lanka than just this lovely space. What is it about Sri Lanka that keeps making you want to go back?
there's a lot of different aspects. One is my vegan diet. Like, I'm trying to live as vegan as possible. And if you travel the world as a vegan, in some countries it's easier than the others. Sri Lanka is like a Buddhist country and it's an island, so everything is imported. So it means if you want to drink cow milk, it's the double or 3 times as much as coconut milk. So the local people, like all the local restaurants, they use coconut milk. So you don't even have to ask. Every dish you get, it's dairy free, because no one will pay 3 times as much. So people just get a coconut milk. And because it's a Buddhist country, people know what is a vegetarian. You don't have to explain yourself. But like 14 years ago, it's like you really had to explain yourself. Like, what are you, vegetarian? So Sri Lanka is, for me, it's like a little Bali, but 15 years back or 20 years back. When we moved there, we've been one of the first vegan restaurants in the whole country. If you compare it to Bali, which is crowded and a vegan restaurant at every corner, Sri Lanka, it's more rough, it's more laid back, there's no traffic jams. It's like Bali was like 20 years ago. You can cruise around, beautiful beaches, turquoise water. There are some beaches where you find some plastic, but compared to other countries, it's paradise. There's turtles in the water, perfect surf, the inland jungle, and you have like different climate zones. If you go inland, you have like mountains, you can go for hikes. You have different seasons. So from November to April is my season, like in the south. And then from April till November is the season on the East Coast. If you want to kite surf, you can do this on the West Coast. So for everyone, you can come for an Ayurveda treatment of 21 days of panchakarma, of massages, of inner healing, of inner work. Or if you just want to surf, you can just surf. Or if you want to do a yoga retreat, you can do yoga retreat. So the range what Sri Lanka offers, it's nearly for every couple, for every age. For me, it's one of the best countries because my girlfriend finds something to do. If there's kids around, they find something to do. If my mom would come there, she gets massages every day. It's quite deep-rooted in this country.
That's so interesting that Sri Lanka has become a destination for inner work and meditation. Maybe not so surprising given the religion of the country and the climate. Tell me, how is it to get around Sri Lanka? Of course, it's quite a small country. How do normally people get around? What's the infrastructure like?
So there's like different choices. I mean, the cheapest choice is the train. But the train tracks are built for the British, so they're still the same trains, the same train tracks, nothing has changed. You can get around from like Colombo to my place, which is 200 kilometers, maybe for $1, $2, depends on the day. It's like super cheap, but it's super slow. It's super slow, super crowded because most of the population takes the cheapest option. But it's definitely an experience. I can everyone recommend to do it once. And then you have buses. The buses are a little bit more expensive, but maybe like $3, $4, $5, and you can still come from Colombo to my place to the south or travel around. The buses go everywhere. The train tracks are kind of limited because you have like one train track goes from Colombo down south and one train track up north and one into the inland. That's it. But the bus network is insane. It's like you can get to every single corner by bus because that's what local people do. There's like buses, and then mostly for the last little bits, if you have a special hotel or a special destination, you just take a tuk-tuk, like a freewheeler. It's like a freewheeler taxi. And for everyone who loves more comfort, private taxis. Private taxis from the airport, a 2-hour journey to my place is around between $80 and $100, depends on the petrol prices, which is still fine, like driving 2 hours in a taxi for $100. So if you want to get a pickup, you want to have AC, you want to have comfort, or someone puts your bag somewhere that you don't want to sweat in a train, like taxi is the option. You get the backpackers who mostly take the train or the buses, and then you have the middle-aged people who maybe take the tuk-tuks. And then if you want to have more luxury, you just have a private van or a private car.
Okay, that's so interesting. So tell me a little bit more about where your hotel and retreat center is located. North of Colombo, south?
No, we're in the south, close to Veligama and Mirissa. It's like 2 famous spots for surf or holiday, beautiful beaches. It's 2 hours of a taxi down south.
So the fact that you opened up this retreat center is just very interesting to me. So tell me, how was it to start getting clients? Where did your clients come from first of all? Because of course you're from Central Europe originally.
Yeah. The first year we opened a vegan hotel. We had a vegan restaurant on site and a yoga studio. And most of the clients been just like travelers who traveled Sri Lanka and who've been looking for a yoga studio just to continue practice, or people like looking for vegan food. And as I said, we've been the first one in whole Sri Lanka when we opened. So it was quite easy. So because I do have an IT company, so I do Google ads and Facebook ads for clients since like over 10 years. So I do have this expertise. If you looked for a vegan restaurant Sri Lanka or yoga studio Sri Lanka, we'd be number 1. So it was quite easy the first year to be fully booked. But after a while, we realized it's so much work, and the food waste was high because people come to random times. I'm a vegan, gluten-free chef at the same time. So the whole menu, what we offer is vegan, sugar-free, gluten-free, and even from next year on, it will be lectin-free, because that's what I believe is the healthiest diet, and this is what I want to offer to my guests. I was asking Martinez, what do we actually want? Because we nearly burnt out because we've been working from morning till evening. And we said, hey, look, daily check-ins or check-outs, it's too much. Let's make people like minimum stay 7 days. Both Martina and I, we've never been to retreats before. We didn't know what retreats are. So what we did was more like, okay, what do we want? So people should stay 7 days. And then we changed it. So we made it more a yoga stay, and you have to do yoga. But you can book the yoga additional, but you have to stay a certain amount of time. And we made a schedule, breakfast is included, dinner is included. So we ended up being fully booked as a hotel, but then only 3 people came to yoga classes. And we said, that's not what we want. And then people be like, getting drunk. And then we said, okay, how can we force people to do yoga? Okay, let's make it mandatory. So if you come to us, you have to stay 7 days and you have to practice. If you don't want to practice, don't come. And then in the 3rd year, we actually become a yoga retreat center. And we loved it. Before COVID, there was a huge boom. Different other news was featuring Sri Lanka. There have been yoga retreat centers popping out everywhere. So we try to make our retreats holistic. So we included Vipassana, Anapana, breath awareness, body awareness, different meditations, breath work. Everything Martina and I have been doing for ourselves for many years, we've been trying to make it a holistic experience, like a life transformative experience with food and all these practices we learned on our life. We created this 8-day intensive breathwork retreat where we just include different practices, where we do now 6 hours a day of practice. And
wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yes, that's a lot. But the people who sign up, that's the people I love, because suddenly we have the target group I'm really feel connected to. And I love hanging out with this target group. I love talking to them. The questions they ask, it suddenly becomes a dream life. It transformed from a business, from offering something, to actually, I really love what I do. And yeah, this is what we do now since 3 years. COVID stopped us for a year, but now since 2 years we're back, and I'm really looking forward for November to teach again.
I'm so excited for you that you managed to just evolve so quickly. That's so interesting. Tell me, where are your clients generally from?
In the beginning, they've been mostly Europe-based, like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, Sweden, Scandinavia. Like countries where people do have money, they do have holidays, and they do look to go on health retreats to actually do something for them. But since COVID, it shifted. So we still have 50% of European clients, But it goes even more international. And we do get now like 40% of expats, like Europeans who live in Shanghai or Hong Kong or Singapore. Because Sri Lanka is really close. It's kind of the center of Asia. You get like the whole Middle East, you get actually people from Australia coming, or Bali, it's like we're actually getting people all over. The European people, they book ages in advance, and then we've been fully booked with Europeans. Since COVID, it changed a little bit. I don't know why, because maybe they're having more anxiety or people don't want to travel long distance. Something changed, and now we're getting more, people like booking from Southeast Asia. It's more like a mix. And even sometimes now Americans and Canadians, but for them it's like a long travel. It's the other side of the world. But we do get here and there one or two. People are like mostly having 2 weeks because people are not traveling from America just for a week. It's just the distance too far.
So for listeners that have never really delved into a meditation or a breathwork retreat like this, they've never experienced this before, could you maybe walk us through in what a day in the life is? For example, I did a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat probably about 10 years ago now. And even though people had told me what to expect, it was still a bit of a shock. And it was one of the hardest but rewarding things I've ever done. So why don't you tell our listeners what it is like to do something like this from the moment they wake up?
I done a few of these 10-day retreats, and I really, really feel you. And even you have done ones, like every single one you do again is the same, So you're like, oh my God, I forgot how hard it is.
Yeah.
And what Tina and I, what we want to create is, it's more like a middle path. Because what I see with my friends or people talk to for these 10-day Vipassanas, people are really afraid of going there. Because 10 days of silence, 10 hours a day of meditation, 10 hours of sitting, it's really hard for most people. And there's nothing in between. There are yoga retreats on the market who do morning yoga and evening yoga, but that's not the same direction. What we try to do is taking the experience what you can get from a 100-hour retreat of Vipassana, break it down, adding different modalities which I think are beneficial, and trying to give the same experience with less suffering and less work and make it more fun and make it more accessible. So people wake up in our place around 6:30. Sunrise is at 6. Some people even go up earlier and go for the beach, go for a swim or like for a run on the beach. So we start at 7 with a very basic yoga class. Like everything what we do is like from meditation to yoga to breathwork, we start with 0. Because everyone should start. We can have yoga teachers, we have meditation teachers, and we have people coming, they've never done any of them. And it's fine, because even for myself, even being a teacher, I love to go into classes because to re-listen, it's so important to not to forget. We start guiding people from 0 to 100, step by step. And then at 7 in the morning, we do have a 60 or 70 minute yoga class, but really easy. It's more about moving the body, feeling the body, becoming alive, waking up. And then we go into a little meditation, work every single day on a different body part from top to bottom. Just the energy can flow throughout the 7 days or 8 days. And then we go into a 1.5 hour, 2 hour conscious connected breathing exercise based on the day. We're changing the breath pattern every day. We give different guidance so people can play around. What power has the breath? Because most people, they're not aware of how powerful our breath is. And every single day, you're modifying a little bit the breath, and then people can actually experience themselves. So this is the morning from 7 to 11. And then people get writing assignments. We do have all like a beautiful big brunch together from like 11 to 12. And the afternoons are sometimes free. Sometimes we go for a massage. We get an Ayurvedic treatment. On some other days, we have a workshop or we talk. And yeah, people are free to use the afternoon. They can go for a surf. They can get a second massage or whatever, or just read a book, whatever they want to do, or hang out or talk to the guests. At 5 o'clock, we start with a yin yoga class on our rooftop. We have a big, beautiful rooftop, ocean view, the sunset in front of our house. And then we have a 90-minute relaxing, restorative yin class where people can just integrate the whole day, calm down, bring down the nervous system. And then we have a beautiful dinner. Mostly I do 4 of the dinners, and then the wife of the owner, she makes Sri Lankan rice and curry, like a beautiful vegan rice and curry, 3 times in the week. And after dinner, we meditate. Every day a different meditation. I guide them to give different modalities, because what I believe is there's not the right meditation for every human being. So What we're trying to do is giving different yoga styles, different meditation styles, different breathing styles, that everyone can just pick what they like. And if people walk home with one technique they like, they can do every single day, I did my job. That's my mission. If people find like a technique they love doing, they find joy in doing it, and they introduce them into their daily practice, that's a win. Then I done my job for the whole week. And then people go to bed.
That sounds like a very full, but what an enriching day. I'm guessing that the participants become very close with each other throughout the time that they're together. Is that fair to say?
Yes. We're spending a lot of time together. We do a lot of sharings. We talk about what we experienced. We talk about where we stand, what we want to do in future, where we came from. The bonding, and most people even creating WhatsApp groups to stay in contact after.
Are most of the people that come to your retreats vegan, or for some, is this the first time that they're delving into this kind of eating?
Yeah, it's both. We had some people who are actually sitting at the table and telling me into my eyes, that's the first vegan dish of my life. I was like, oh wow, it's a pleasure. And then of course we have people who only come to us because we are offering gluten-free, vegan, sugar-free food. It's both. It's like the ones I'm here to inspire, the other ones, they come because they are like standard of which retreats they're going to.
I was curious about your transition to lectin-free food next year. I don't think I even know what a lectin is. Can you explain that?
It's quite new to me too. I've just been reading a book recently called The Plant Paradox. And so gluten is a lectin. And there's more lectins on the market. Most people don't really feel the lectins because we are not as sensitive, because most people are not meditators. And for me, it was all the time, I was sometimes eating a salad and then felt like an impact in my body. Something was changing and I could never figure out, okay, what is it? Because I'm eating like a raw vegan organic salad. What's wrong with this salad? Why does my body is reacting to it? And after I was reading this book, and I was, for example, skipping out the tomatoes or the skin of cucumbers, suddenly I don't have these drops anymore. Suddenly I stay awake, I stay present, and my energetic field stays the same, and my meditations are better. And because I was reading this book there's a lot of critics because it's not really enough studies and whatever. And for me, this is not as important. I do my self-study. I'm just trying it out. I do feel better when I do it. So that's for me all I need. I live in my retreat center. I eat my own food. So what I do is, because I believe it, so everyone just gets this food. It's a lot of work for me because I have to redo the whole menu. I have to write all the recipes new. I have 3 months to go, so I have to redo the whole menu. My belief changed, and then I change what I offer because I can't offer something what I don't believe anymore.
Wow, so interesting. So you spend half of the year in Europe and half of the year in Sri Lanka. Why is that? Is that because there's some sort of weather, a peak season to travel in Sri Lanka?
So yes, there's 2 seasons. So where my retreat center is in the south, the season is from November till April. So in this time, mostly it's dry season. It's blue sky, 28 degrees. The best travel months, I would say, is from mid of November till February, March. You can still come till end of April, but from middle of March, it starts getting hot because Sri Lanka is like in the north of the planet. So we are still in winter. So the best month is like December, but December, January is really crowded sometimes. So you have to decide, do you want to have like perfect weather and crowded, or you come in February, which is my favorite month because it's not as crowded and the weather's still perfect. Or if you like hot weather because you come out of winter, March and April is still perfect. It's beautiful. Instead of 28 degrees, we have 33 degrees, 30, 34, 35 sometimes. But the rain mostly starts in May in the south coast. And then we have the east coast, because it's a small country, but there's like microclimates. So on the east coast, which is just from my place like 3 hours drive, we have a different season. The season starts in April and finishes in November. And then we get the rain in the south coast and they get a dry season. And because I'm from Europe, and I mean, I love European summer and I don't really like the winter. So I'm spending the winter in Sri Lanka, the 6 months. I could stay in Sri Lanka and go to the East Coast because a lot of businesses, what they do, they have 2 businesses. They have one for half year in the South and another half on the East Coast. And they just switch for people who like want to live in Sri Lanka the whole year. But for me, sometimes Sri Lanka is chaotic, a little bit extreme. Living the other half in Switzerland, you know, where everything's like organized, it's perfect. It gives me like both of both worlds. So half the year I teach retreats in Europe. I have a second brand, and I do still have my own IT company. So in summer I do a little bit of computer work, IT. I teach here and there some breathwork classes, some meditation classes. I go for hikes, nature, forest, mountains, and then winter surfing, beach, nature, teaching. So I'm just trying to get the best out of both worlds.
It sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds like you really enjoy it, Alex. That's so cool. So your restaurant that you have, is that open to the public as well, or is it only open to participants who are at the retreat?
Yeah. It was open for public in the first year, but because I try to reduce food waste, it's so hard to plan as a restaurant. People walk in and out, and then we decided after 1 year, no, we just close it. We have 16 guests plus us, the staff, so it's 20 people. So I go to the market, I buy for 20 people, I cook for 20 people. We don't have food waste. And that's the reason why we just close for people who stay with us. So you have to stay 8 days with us, and then you can enjoy the whole service, the whole food. But now there's more vegan places opening in Sri Lanka. Before COVID, there have been many, but they couldn't survive. So now, after 1 or 2 years, people start business again, and there's a really good restaurants now around us. So there are good vegan restaurants. And as I said before, the local restaurants, they're not announced as vegan, but all of them are vegan. Because the Sri Lankan dishes, they cook like rice, and then they cook mostly 4, 5, 6 different curries. And only one of them is mostly with fish. So what you do is that you just tell them, look, can I get just the vegetarian curries and not the fish? And because it's always different pots, you just skip the fish curry and then you have a vegan curry. Because it's always made with coconut milk and they don't use anything else. So nearly every restaurant is vegan. So that's the beauty about Sri Lanka.
Oh my goodness. That kind of food is absolutely my favorite. Coconut milk-based curries are so
really good.
This has been so interesting. So I follow the news quite closely, and I've heard recently that there's been some really huge problems in Sri Lanka. I think in regards to terrible inflation or economic problems from the government. Am I understanding that right? And what's going on there?
The biggest problem happened after COVID because the parliament wanted to do some really good choices to make a lot of farms organic, to change a lot of stuff. But what they didn't really think of is like you can't just change a whole country from non-organic to organic. This step is too big because people are not educated or whatever. And then COVID came at the same time, and then they run out of money, so they couldn't pay the petrol ships which are coming to Sri Lanka. And the country run out of petrol, run out of US dollars. And then the tourists couldn't come to Sri Lanka, so no one was bringing in dollars or euros. But the petrol or the diesel, you have to pay in dollars. No one wants rupees. So if you don't get tourists, you can't pay petrol. And this means people run out of petrol, people couldn't run buses, people had to close schools. Because the news been announcing it, hey, maybe we run out of petrol. It's the same what happened in Europe with toilet paper, you know, you announce it and then everyone runs to the shops and buys it. And the same happened in Sri Lanka. Everyone has been running to the petrol stations because everyone's listening to the news and everyone gets as much petrol as possible to hoard it. And that caused the problem. But now there's like, since 1 year, we got QR codes. So for example, for my scooter, I have a QR code and I only get 4 liters a week. And that's enough. That's enough for me to go shopping and do all the stuff I want. And if I want to get more than 4 liters a week, I have to pay extra. I can still get it, but what they do is they're trying to control that people are not hoarding it. And since then, the buses are running, the trains are running, the taxis are running. I would say it's even better than before because now there is a system. Because before it was very chaotic. And now, of course, there's still inflation. The rupees is high, which is, as a tourist, is great because for you, everything is cheap. The prices went up for the people because the salary is the same. So people there are a little bit struggling because the inflation went up, but the salary didn't went up. But for us as tourists, because their exchange went up, for us it's the same price. But what the country actually needs is tourists because people need tourists who come there, who bring dollars, who bring euros, who buy the stuff, who give actually business to restaurants, to hotels, because the hotel business, the tourist business is one of the biggest incomes of the country. So when we don't come, there's a lot of money missing. There are some problems and there have been some strikes in Colombo, but mostly it's just Colombo. They're very friendly. And the news that kind of, they're only taking snapshots of one burning car. But yeah, there was like one, and it was like 1 year ago. But now it's like everything's safe, you can travel around, everything works. I really feel it was better because now people start thinking.
That's so interesting. And I'm really pleased that you could explain that because I do think a lot of people will have a tendency to avoid a destination because of these kinds of situations, but they're often very, very localized. And yeah, I can imagine that tourism is really needed right now. All right, Alex, this has been so interesting. I cannot wait to come to Sri Lanka one day, and maybe I will even be brave enough to do another 10-day meditation breath work. Certainly, I'm sure it would be so beneficial for me. Tell me, how is it that people can reach out to you, find out more about what it is you're doing, and then what's the process for booking some sort of 8-day retreat?
So we do have 2 websites, one called Greenpeace In. You can just type in Breathwork Sri Lanka and you will find me. There's only one Breathwork center who's offering this kind of retreats. So it's quite easy. And for the European retreats, it's called Husma Retreats. But I think you can post links. And Husma means in Sinhala, and Sinhala is the language of Sri Lanka, it means breath. And that's how it's inspired, because our whole journey started in Sri Lanka. So if you type Husma Retreats, you find our European retreats, or Greenpeace, like the organization, Greenpeace In. The place called before Greenpeace In, we just took the name. We haven't changed it because it's green, it's peaceful. That's the reason how it's inspired. And that's the easiest way. Just Google Sri Lanka, you'll find me.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Alex. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for asking to be on this podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.